Riots are dangerous and deadly. An estimated 1 million people died during the civil unrest that followed India's independence. Thousands of people die each year from rioting and related violence. Although angry outbursts can sometimes be anticipated, many times riots break out without warning. The confusion and destruction associated with a terrorist attack could force entire cities of people to riot out of fear and uncertainty. Preparing ahead of time for any type of disaster scenario is always a good idea. After a natural disaster or attack, you will not be able to rely on emergency services or law enforcement. These services will be overwhelmed and unavailable for many emergency situations. A key component of successful survival in any situation is planning. Whether a natural disaster, a terrorist attack kills millions, or an EMP leaves the electrical grid in shambles, having a survival plan could mean the difference between life and death. When a catastrophic event occurs, the supply chain will be interrupted. This means no food on store shelves, no medicine at the pharmacy, and no help from government agencies for weeks or even longer. The best way to survive the rioting and violence that will ensue after such an attack is to avoid the affected area at all costs. Having a well-conceived plan ahead of time means you will not be forced into action immediately following a disaster. One of the safest places to be during a riot is inside. The ability to stay safely within the confines of your home, if possible and safe to do so, is an extremely valuable asset during a crisis. This means having at least a 10 to 14-day supply of food, required medications, adequate clothing, and even weapons to defend yourself if the rioters get too close. Obviously, if the riot is too close or if your home has been damaged during the disaster, staying where you are is not the ideal scenario. Leaving your home during a riot is dangerous. Leaving your home during a riot without first having a plan for escape can be deadly. If you are forced to leave your home and seek shelter elsewhere, it is imperative to have an escape plan. Many of the normal routes you might take to leave could be blocked, damaged, or full of violent rioters. Understanding all possible escape routes before a disaster strikes allows you to rationally assess each potential roadway and circumvent those that present an unacceptable amount of danger. Remember that riots can and will break out for seemingly inconsequential reasons. Even during these outbursts, people often die or suffer serious injuries. The level of violence during a post-disaster riot will be exponentially more severe and the area should be avoided at all costs. Part of what makes riots so dangerous, however, is the sheer unpredictability of them. A peaceful crowd one minute can turn grotesquely violent the next with little to no external provocation. This means that no matter how well you have prepared beforehand, all your planning could go up in smoke at a moment's notice, and you may find yourself right in the middle of a full-scale, deadly riot. Any survivalist expert will agree that planning typically has the greatest impact on your chances of survival during and immediately following a catastrophic event. Those same experts also agree that no matter how much planning you do, it may not be enough. No one really knows just how severe the impact of a natural disaster or terrorist attack will be or how it will affect the population of the area. For this reason, it is important to understand how to maximize your chances of survival if you cannot safely escape the area and wind up in the midst of the chaos. Without participating in violence, play the part of a rioter when possible. If crowds of people are chanting, chant with them. You are much less likely to be attacked by the crowd if you appear to be one of them. Avoid making eye contact whenever possible. During a situation like this, many rational people can be extremely aggressive, and even just looking at them may invoke a confrontation. Move with your head down at a reasonable pace. Running or walking too quickly will draw attention to your intent of leaving the area. Think of a riotous mob like a strong river current. It is impossible for an average person to swim upstream against a strong river current. You will succumb to exhaustion quickly and could even drown. Moving against an aggressive crowd is just as hazardous. Moving in the opposite direction of rioters not only makes it obvious that you are not one of them, but it also increases the chances of a confrontation as you fight against crowds of people. The best way to move toward an exit when stuck in the middle of a crowd is to move in the direction of the crowd while slowing moving toward the outside. Traveling directly toward the outer limits of the crowd looks suspicious. If you move slowly toward the outside, it is likely that people will not notice. Once you have gotten outside the center of the violence, it is easier to determine the best escape route and get there inconspicuously. The one exception to this rule is if you notice the crowd moving into a bottleneck. This might be a tunnel, fenced area, or high-walled enclosure that forces the crowd into a tight place. Often confined rioters will become even more volatile and violent. If the crowd is moving dangerously close to a bottleneck, it is better to risk looking suspicious and get to the side and away from that area as quickly as possible. Whenever possible, get indoors quickly. Thank you for watching. Hope you liked the video. See the description for links to our website and the book Riot Survival.